Choosing the greatest Beatles song of all time is an almost impossible task. With more than 200 officially released songs spanning everything from straightforward rock and roll to psychedelic experimentation and orchestral pop, every fan has a different answer. Some point to the emotional brilliance of Yesterday, others to the innovation of A Day in the Life, while many consider Strawberry Fields Forever the band's most groundbreaking achievement. Yet, if anyone's opinion carries extraordinary weight, it is George Martin. Often referred to as the Fifth Beatle, Martin wasn't simply the band's producer, he was their arranger, musical advisor, and one of the key figures who transformed John Lennon and Paul McCartney's ideas into some of the most influential recordings in modern music. Having worked with the Beatles from their very first EMI sessions in 1962 until their final recordings, Martin witnessed every stage of their remarkable evolution. Surprisingly, when asked to identify the one Beatles recording that best represented the group's collective brilliance, Martin didn't choose Hey Jude, Yesterday, or A Day in the Life. Instead, he pointed to the opening track of Abbey Road, Come Together. Released in September 1969, Come Together arrived during one of the most turbulent periods in Beatles history. Personal relationships within the band had become increasingly strained, business disagreements were growing more frequent, and many observers believed the group was nearing its end. Despite the tension behind the scenes, something extraordinary happened whenever the four musicians entered the recording studio together. John Lennon brought the song's mysterious lyrics and hypnotic vocal performance. Paul McCartney transformed its groove with an unforgettable bass line. Ringo Starr created one of the most distinctive drum patterns of his career, while George Harrison added tasteful blues-inspired guitar phrases that completed the song's dark atmosphere. George Martin believed this recording perfectly illustrated why the Beatles were greater than the sum of their individual talents. If I had to pick one song that showed the four disparate talents of the boys and the ways they combined to make a great sound, it would be Come Together. The original song is good, but with John's voice, it's better. Then Paul had this great little riff, and Ringo hears that and does a drum thing that fits in, and then there's George's guitar at the end. The four of them became much better than the individual components. Rather than naming the band's single greatest composition, Martin was highlighting something arguably even more important. No other Beatles recording demonstrated their chemistry quite so perfectly. Ironically, Come Together began as something entirely different. John Lennon originally wrote the song as a campaign anthem for psychologist and activist Timothy Leary, who hoped to become governor of California in 1969. The slogan, Come Together, served as the foundation of the lyrics, but Leary's political campaign collapsed before Lennon could finish the song. Instead of abandoning the idea, Lennon completely reworked it. Producer George Martin encouraged Lennon to slow the tempo dramatically, transforming what had started as a fast Chuck Berry-inspired rocker into the swampy, blues-driven masterpiece listeners know today. The slower pace created space for every instrument to breathe, allowing each Beatle to contribute something memorable. The result was unlike anything else on rock radio at the time. Part of what makes Come Together so enduring is that every member of the Beatles leaves an unmistakable fingerprint on the recording. Lennon's relaxed yet commanding vocal performance gives the song its mysterious personality. His cryptic lyrics remain open to interpretation more than 5 decades later, adding to the record's enduring appeal. McCartney's bass work is equally important. Rather than simply following the chord progression, his melodic bass line becomes one of the song's defining hooks. Many bass players still regard it as one of the finest performances of his career. Ringo Starr's drumming is another masterclass in restraint. Instead of filling every measure with elaborate flourishes, he focuses on groove and feel, creating a rhythm that drives the song without ever overpowering it. George Harrison, meanwhile, contributes subtle but expressive lead guitar phrases that perfectly complement John Lennon's vocals. His blues-inspired playing adds just enough texture to complete the recording without drawing attention away from the song itself. Individually, each performance is impressive. Together, they become iconic. There is another reason Martin's choice makes sense. Come Together opens Abbey Road, the final album the Beatles recorded together as a band. Although Let It Be was released later, most of its material had been recorded months earlier. By the time sessions for Abbey Road began, everyone involved understood that the band's future was uncertain. Yet instead of allowing those tensions to define the music, the four musicians delivered one final masterpiece of collaboration. The album itself is frequently ranked among the greatest records ever made, and Come Together immediately sets its confident, sophisticated tone. It is a reminder that even when personal relationships were beginning to unravel, the Beatles remained capable of creating music that no other band could match. Many Beatles classics showcase extraordinary songwriting. Others revolutionized recording technology or pushed the boundaries of popular music. Come Together accomplishes something slightly different. It captures the unique chemistry that made the Beatles unlike any other band in history. That's why George Martin treasured it so highly. Not because he necessarily believed it was their greatest composition, but because it demonstrated what happened when John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr each contributed their distinct talents towards a single musical vision. More than half a century after its release, Come Together remains one of rock music's defining recordings, a timeless reminder that the Beatles were never simply four exceptional musicians. They were a phenomenon whose collective brilliance always exceeded its sum of individual parts.